Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Or should I say, we'll come back. We come back. I don't know. That was kind of corny. Actually, no, that was beyond corny. That was actually super cringy. I'm actually going to take that out of the video. But today is another special day. We get to finally talk about another gaming console. And this was, I think, one of the first gaming consoles I ever talked about on my channel. I think it went like the DS Lite and then the Nintendo Wii right after. And I love Nintendo consoles. I love Sony consoles. I love Nintendo consoles. I love Xboxes. I love every console basically ever made. But I just have a special heart and a place in my heart for the Nintendo Wii because this was technically the first console, like an at-home console that I bought with my mom's money, so I guess that means something. And dude, I spent so much time on this console. Funny enough, I actually homebrewed it, I modified it, homebrewed it, installed a PlayStation 1 emulator on it, and just went from there. And I finished all the Crash Bandicoots and all my Spyro the Dragons through the Nintendo Wii. And I think that really, that was probably the most impactful game to me. Funny enough, it was a PlayStation game, but the Nintendo Wii helped me get there. And I really do love this console. It has so much going for it still, even now in 2020. Now, I'm reading a lot of this from NintendoFandom.com, so shout out to them, actually Nintendo.fandom.com. So go on their website, give them some love. They did a really great job at kind of breaking down the history of the Nintendo Wii, and I'll kind of break it down for you a little bit so you don't have to go there if you don't want to. But the Nintendo Wii actually came out in 2006, towards the ending of it, and I think in other markets it eventually came out in like 2007 and then, but in 2006, to give you some perspective, we had the PlayStation 3s, we had the Xbox 360s, and then we had the Nintendo Wii. And out of all those three consoles, the Nintendo Wii actually not only outsold all of them, but I think ended up being one of the best-selling consoles of all time. It was actually the third best-selling console of all time, and it sold over 100 million units. Just think how crazy that is, dude. You would have to have hundreds. There's only like 2 million people that live in America. Totally joking. I'm totally joking, but that's pretty crazy that, a console like this can totally just take over like that. And I don't really think we've ever seen a console like have that big of a market push, maybe besides the DS and DS Lite, that series, but the Nintendo Wii did a crazy good job at it, and I love Nintendo for doing this. Now, eventually a successor to this was made, which was the Nintendo Wii Mini, which I've already reviewed on this channel just like a couple months ago, so I'll leave that link down in the description if you want to watch it. And now the biggest signature thing about the Nintendo Wii was not only the way it looked and not only that it was a Nintendo console, but the controller itself. And this was the biggest thing about it. It wasn't just that standalone, you just sit there and you move it and that's it, and you just like click the buttons and that's it. This was an actual physical remote that you actually moved around to actually interact with the console itself. And I remember when this thing came out, the biggest selling point about this thing not only was the great games and everything for it, was the fact that you would be able to be more active when actually playing the games. And I remember watching all these different Nintendo Wii videos and Nintendo Wii commercials at the time, and all of them were promoting Wii Health and Wii Sports and all those different Wii games, and that was a huge selling factor for this. People wanted to lose weight and all those things, and they can actually do it while playing games, and that was one of its biggest points. And I think that was kind of like a sub thing they weren't thinking about at the time, but then they were like, we can really market on this and just kind of go along with it. And if you remember, actually, I think it was like an article or something that came out a few months ago. Somebody said that their grandma or something, their mom, still plays with Wii Health, and she has like that little thing you put on the bottom of the floor and you like stand on to like play the games and stuff, that she actually lost a bunch of weight by doing that. And even though it's mostly diet, I don't know why this is turning into a health video, but the Nintendo Wii actually kind of killed it in terms of that. And in terms of marketing overall, that's a really crazy thing Nintendo did with it. And it was a wireless remote. You didn't have to plug it in or anything like that. One thing though, it was, you had to put batteries in it, which kind of sucked, but you could buy those rechargeable batteries and go from there, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. And the console itself looked pretty good too. I think a lot of people kind of liked more of the Xbox 360 and PS3 look, but I think the Nintendo Wii definitely looked good. You had the game slot at the front, with the power button, eject button, you can put in an SD card. On the back, there wasn't an HDMI cord, which kind of sucked, so you had to use those old AV cables, but you can always get an AV to HDMI and go from there. Now, turning on the Nintendo Wii, you were presented with that familiar home screen design. You had all those different blocks, which I think Nintendo called channels at the time, and you could just, do so many different things. You had, your Me, which was pretty much like Memoji in a way, but just of like a Wii version of you, and you would be able to modify it and see what it is and all those different things. You actually had an internet browser as well, and I want to make a video about going on the internet on the Nintendo Wii in 2020, so if you want to watch that video, or if you want me to make that video, hit the like button or DM me or something like that you want to see it. I might drop it on my second channel. I don't really know where I'll drop it, but I'll drop it somewhere. And you had all those little blogs. You had the Nintendo eShop as well, which I heard is taken down. I don't really remember, but either or, you had that capability compatibility. And then you also had the channel to play games on. And I think that was the biggest thing about this thing was the game selection. And I mention it every time I mention any Nintendo console, but the game selection of this thing was crazy. You had so many years of support from this thing, which was really, really intense. You had all those Wii games that came out and all those things, and New Super Mario Bros. 2 that came out for this thing, Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, even Call of Duties. I was surprised to see Call of Duty on this thing. You had a couple of those games on the Nintendo Wii as well. And just the fact that you can hold the controller like however you want to and be able to move it and all those things, that's a really intense thing. And I really, really like Nintendo for doing that. The game selection of this thing was crazy. And when you double in the fact that on some Nintendo models, not all of them, my specific Wii model does not have this capability, which really sucks. The black one doesn't, but the white one does have the capability. So I think there's some racism going on here. Totally joking. That was a total joke. But on the white Nintendo Wii that I have, I'm able to actually do backwards compatibility with the Nintendo GameCube games, which is super, super intense, and that's super crazy. The fact that you have not only the whole entire Wii collection of games, but you also have the whole entire GameCube collection of games, that is an insane catalog of, content that you can consume straight from a gaming console like that. You can literally play so many different games, and if you look at consoles like the Nintendo Switch, for example, there's really not any backwards compatibility to the 3DS or the Nintendo Wii U or any console like that. It's its own standalone console, and I'm not saying the Nintendo Switch is this or the Wii is better than the Nintendo Switch. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm mostly saying is I love backwards compatibility, and even with like the PlayStation 4, some models you weren't able to be backwards compatibility to PlayStation. Like even with like the Xbox Series X, what we just heard that it's going to be backwards compatible to Xbox One games. That when I heard that, I literally like felt like a teenage girl again. Like I felt crazy. It was like one of the most intense things ever. And I think that's definitely one of the cool things about the Nintendo Wii. It just makes it feel like that much of a better console just because of the catalog of games that you have. But when you also factor in the fact that you can homebrew this thing and modify it and make it play really a bunch of other console games, that just makes this thing act so much better than what it is. And I think the value that a Nintendo Wii has is insane for the price that you're going to pay for it. With homebrew, you have so much more capability. You can play a bunch of SNES games, you can play a bunch of NES games, Game Boy Advance games I'm sure you can play on a Nintendo Wii. But like I said early on in this video, one of my favorite things I've done with the Nintendo Wii was modify it to play PlayStation 1 games, and I legally owned those ROMs. It's not like I legally owned everything, and it wasn't even that hard to modify it. I think I had to do it through an SD card from the front and then just go from there. It really wasn't that big of a deal. It was super easy, and that was one of my favorite things I've ever done with the console, really ever, besides modifying my DS Lite. That was one of the best things I think at the time, and the fact that, you didn't have to have like a separate console for every single thing. You can just play everything from one console, and the coolest thing was the PlayStation emulator from the Nintendo Wii. You can actually map the Wii buttons to specific actions on the Wii itself. So it's just like how emulators are now on my MacBook or my PS or on my Windows machine or whatever. That definitely made this thing feel so much better, and it just opened up so many more doors to it that it really, I haven't really seen too many consoles act like this. Even my Switch or Switch Lite, yeah, I can modify and everything, but I just don't know. I think the Nintendo Wii really brought so much to the table, and when you factor in the fact again, on top of those facts, that this thing doesn't cost what it used to cost. I think originally I bought the black one for like $150 or $100. It was brand new too. It was like a Black Friday sale. I bought the Nintendo Wii, the white one. I bought that one for like $20 on eBay, and I wasn't even negotiating or anything. I literally went onto eBay, typed in Nintendo Wii, and sorted from lowest to highest, and just found the first one that was working. And I think it was the first one, and I clicked on it. It looked good, and I bought it. And I think it came with a controller and all the cables as well. And it wasn't even like that was like one out of the blue moon or anything like that. Literally every single one of them, like the 10 after, were all between $20 and like $22. So these things are super cheap now, and they have so much value within them. And if you're looking for a console, for an at-home console, you don't have to go for like a PS4 or a Nintendo Switch or whatever. If you really want it, you can go get a Nintendo Wii and still have a huge catalog of games. This thing was supported for a very, very long time, and because of that, this thing is timeless. And I kind of put it in the same fact as like the Nintendo DS. The coolest thing was if you had a DS at the time, you can actually play some games and connect a DS to the Nintendo Wii and play a lot of games like that. Now, obviously, it wasn't backwards compatible. You weren't able to play Wii games on a DS or vice versa, but you were able to actually go and connect them both. And if you have both now, I would highly recommend you to do it again, dude. I'm telling you, the Nintendo Wii now in 2020 is still super awesome. I still think there's a pretty big development community behind it as well. And for a gaming console like this, it's practically timeless. If I were you though, I would recommend getting the AVI or whatever the cable name is to HDMI. That way you can actually connect this to an HDMI screen without having, constantly going and putting in the AV cables and all that, because that can actually get annoying over time. But regardless, without a doubt, I love this gaming console so much, and if I were you, I would highly recommend picking up a Nintendo Wii in 2020. So that really pretty much covers it. I think I really hit on every single thing I need to hit on. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys would check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.